For our last few videos, we have been discussing the topic of evolution and adaptations that are found in plants and animals. Remember, in our first evolution video, we discussed the differences in the skeleton of the lower leg in the horse, the dog, and the chicken. Here we can see a picture of a horse that has actually been born with a secondary toe. This is resulting from phylogenetic atavism caused by arrested development in the embryonic stages. Here's a diagram showing the toes in their different embryonic stages of the horse. In figure E, we can see that in 6 weeks of development, the fetus still has 3 toes. Then in figures F and G, which is 8 weeks and 5 months of development respectively, you can see that the first and third toe have recessed, leaving the middle toe to become dominant. So in this phylogenetic atavism, basically one of these toes failed to undergo apoptosis and remained there as a secondary toe until the animal was birthed. Here we can see a llama eye, and you can look at the ruffles of the eye. Those are iridic granules, or corpora nigra. These ruffles shade the eye from bright sunlight, and they actually expand to almost completely cover the iris of the eye. This adaptation is found in ungulates, which are hoofed animals such as cattle, horses, and sheep. Now let's take a look at some adaptations in dentition. This is an X-ray of a horse from the side. We're looking at the skull and we're looking at the molars. There are 2 different types of dentition, homodont and heterodont. Homodont means that the teeth are all the same, and heterodont means that the teeth are different. Here you can see the skull of a child before they have lost their baby teeth. We have heterodont dentition, where we have incisors, canines, and molars. And here you can see the adult teeth coming into bloom underneath of the baby teeth. Here is an X-ray of a freshwater stingray species that was discovered in 2011 in the Amazon rainforest by the research team of Nathan Lovejoy, a biologist at the University of Toronto, and Marcelo Rodriguez of the University of Sao Paulo. Here you can see how the adaptations in the skeleton is going to affect the locomotion of this animal. Here is a blanket octopus. This blanket octopus has an extra flap of webbed skin. This is to appear larger and scare off its predators. And here is an ocean sunfish, which is the heaviest bony fish that we have found. The Smithsonian Institute did research on the skeleton of this fish, and they found that there is no signs of an actual caudal fin, or a tail fin. So basically, instead of having a tail, the dorsal and anal fins grow together to create a pseudo-tail. This is an adaptation for locomotion. Here we can see a picture of an eagle that is striding out. Just like my chicken, this eagle is bipedal when it is walking. And here's a picture of a leased tern with her chicks. We can see that the chicks are hiding underneath of her wings. This is a behavior for predator avoidance. Here is a sexual selection behavior, and this is the great bower bird's bower. A bower is basically a presentation to a female bower bird to get her to mate with the male. This one is found in Lakefield National Park in North Queensland. Now we've talked a little bit about artificial selection. This is when humans are involved in the selection process. For all of our domesticated animals, we've actually found that the domesticated animals retain a juvenile appearance, and this is tied to mild defects in multitasking cells during early embryonic development. These appearances that are associated with our domesticated animals include white spots, floppy ears, and short tails. These appearances are all related to the trait of being tame or tameness. Dmitry Belyaev did a research project which included taking 130 silver foxes and selectively breeding them for tameness. Naturally, foxes are not tame and will snarl or bite at you. But he chose only the most tame foxes and bred those. 40 years later, 70 to 80% of the foxes had become domesticated. And you can see in Figure A that once the fox is domesticated, it takes on these domesticated traits of white spots, shorter tails, and eventually floppy ears. Here's another example of artificial selection resulting in dramatic differences in our animals. This cow here, or this bull I should say, is a Belgian blue breed. Belgian blue cattle have been selectively bred for increased muscle mass. This resulted in a homozygous mutation in myostatin, and myostatin inhibits muscle differentiation and growth during myogenesis. Basically, if you have a defect in this myostatin, the muscles continue to grow, and this is known as double muscling. Now, there are unintended consequences that are associated with this breeding practice. The biggest one is dystocia, which is problems during the birthing process. Basically, because these animals are so large, they have a smaller birthing cavity, and many animals must be delivered by cesarean. Also, other unintended changes include decrease in semen quantity and quality, which affects fertility rates. In addition to this, there is a decrease in stress tolerance in the animal. This mutation can also be found in other animals, and here in the lower left-hand corner we can see a bully whippet, which is a dog that has this myostatin mutation. Here's an example of a genetically engineered goat milk. Scientists used this goat milk to produce a protein found in spider webs. Scientists took the goat milk and extracted the silk proteins from the milk and then used them to weave a material that is cultured with skin cells to create a tough, flexible, and living material that is strong enough to stop a slow-moving bullet.